Hello and welcome to the streaming studio. I am Becky Phelps.
And I'm Colin Davies.
Welcome to what I like to call our newest segment, which is Becky learns more about the NCAA tournament, thanks to our very, very gracious sports team who is working so hard to cover this.
Yeah, we've got so much going on, and especially today, we had the Iowa women availability today ahead of their game. But the big news to start off the day of the game that's already been played, Iowa State, the 2 seed, taking down Tennessee State out of the Ohio Valley Conference, 108-74. Quite the blowout in this one. Iowa State did not leave much up the chance at all. Among the scorers, you have Killian Torrey leading the team with 25 points. And how about Nate Heisey coming off the bench with 22 points? And it was the type of game that Iowa State expected from their players within. But some big injury news with Joshua Jefferson, one of their best players, maybe the best player, went down. And that's where we're going to get an injury update here from Jack Lido is out in St. Louis, as well as with Kevin from our KWQC affiliate there in the Quad Cities. Guys, what can you tell us about Joshua Jefferson?
Hey, Colin. Hey, Becky. Joshua Jefferson going down early in this game, and you felt a chill. Everybody's collective heart jumped a beat as it appeared Jefferson hurt his left ankle or foot and needed help getting off the court. Here's the update. X-rays are negative, and Jefferson has a low ankle sprain. It doesn't mean it's not still scary. It's still a scary injury here for Iowa State fans, but it could have been a lot worse. What were some of your takeaways, Kevin, in talking with Joshua Jefferson, who was available to us in the locker room?
Yeah, first props to him for talking to us after getting hurt, because sometimes that's a rough situation and you're going through a lot of emotions. He said he was in pain, but he also said he was very optimistic and had a very positive outlook. And he in his mind, he's not done for this tournament.
Yeah, and this kind of reminded Cyclone fans of 2014, where George Niang, at the time a sophomore, goes down with a broken foot in a first-round game against North Carolina Central. Iowa State went on to make the Sweet 16 that year, but without George Niang, they couldn't get past eventual national champion UConn. Are you expecting Jefferson to be back for this game? Do you think Iowa State needs them to beat Kentucky?
If they shoot the way they did today, I don't think they need him. I think he can rest that ankle until next week. But when he was helped off the court, it was silence in the arena. You didn't expect him to be back. But if he does come back, this is a very dangerous team, especially if they play with their bench players that did today. They outscored Tennessee State 50-6 with the bench. And I think those 6 points actually came in the last couple minutes in garbage time.
Yeah, I don't know how it played on television, but we were in the arena, guys, and there were cheers, of course, from the Iowa State fans, but they were sort of muted, like there was a lid on the building a little bit, because everybody knew, well, Joshua Jefferson isn't here, and for a long while they didn't see him.
I wouldn't say fans seemed particularly concerned from our point of view. I mean, it really looked like Iowa State was just really focused on delivering.
Yeah, it seemed like after that first half, the fans just kind of started to enjoy it a little bit there after the initial injury wore off, because there was a lot to cheer about. 108 points to cheer about.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that was just absurd. And, Kevin brought it up there. How about 50 points off the bench for Iowa State? Jack, Kevin, what about this bench was just able to step up and produce 50 of 108 points in an NCAA tournament game? Typically, the bench isn't playing that much. How did the bench produce like they did?
Yeah, I like the way Nate Heisey played. They got him off the bench, and he immediately started hitting threes. I think he went 4 out of 5 from distance, and he also had a couple dunks. So he finished with 22 points. That obviously contributes a lot. Jamarion Bateman has always been a good scorer off the bench. We also saw a little bit of Dominic Nelson, who we haven't really seen too much this season for Iowa State. But as the guys came off the court, they seemed pretty happy. I wasn't expecting, honestly, the smiles that we saw from guys like Milan Momcilovic and Killian Torrey, just knowing what we know about that ankle of Joshua Jefferson. But the guys outside of the injury had a lot of reasons to smile, Kevin. A lot of guys getting open.
Absolutely. You talked about Heisey. When they went into the media timeout, the first media timeout, I think it was just a 2-point game. And then they came out, Heisey hits a three, Milan hits a three, Heisey gets a dunk, and a 23-0 run later, and the game was practically over. This bench just dominated. Pure.
Yeah, and that's the thing about Iowa State is, I mean, we've always known they've had good depth. They haven't really had to use it until today. Not only does Joshua Jefferson go out in the first 4 or 5 minutes of the game, Tamin Lipsey has 2 early fouls, so he's sitting on the bench for a lot of the first half. But the starters, obviously they're starters. They played starter minutes and they played quite well. Killian Torrey, Blake Buchanan, but you also had those bench guys play really well, Colin and Becky.
I have one non-Iowa State related question I gotta
Yes.
ask, because I think every Iowa State fan before that game was watching the Kentucky-Santa Clara game. That was in St. Louis, right? You guys got to witness that, I believe. And what was that like? I mean, Kentucky tied it, then Santa Clara took the lead from 3, and then Kentucky just heaved it at the buzzer.
Yeah.
What was that? What was the building like, and what were the Iowa State fans' reaction? I'm sure they were in the building for that.
Yeah, so Kevin, I don't remember if we were in the same spot, but we were kind of in the bowels of Enterprise Center, and in the back you have Tennessee State. They're warming up and kind of getting their stretch on, but the game is going on the court. We're not really allowed to be in that tunnel, so we're just outside of the tunnel. We hear the crowd, and on this little monitor, we see the game, and it's a live feed. So you have media members from St. Louis, from Eastern Iowa, from the Quad Cities, and from Nashville, Tennessee, watching with some Tennessee State players, and it was just like wild. You see the first shot go in from the Kentucky player that ties it, and then they go back and forth with threes. And I don't think anyone had a camera on me, but I have to admit to literally jumping up and down because I just thought, oh my God, I can't believe I'm in the building for this.
Yeah, I was by the Iowa State locker room, and the same thing was going on there. They had just finished warming up in the hallway, and they come back. There was probably like 2 minutes left, and so everybody gathered around the TV, and everybody's trying to get their angle so they can see. And then seeing that shot go in, hearing the crowd go loud was insane. And then they went in the locker room, started getting ready, and then of course they had to make their way out. All the players sitting on the floor watching the game. So for them, it was just like us watching at home. Like this is so much fun for them to be a part of, watching, not only playing.
Yeah, it was a crazy atmosphere there, and I started to think, I bet Iowa State fans do not want their next game to be that close, and it wasn't, even with Joshua Jefferson going out. You know, we did get to talk with Jefferson and some of his teammates in the locker room. I believe we have some sound from Jefferson and just about what he felt in the moment going down with that injury, and the mental mentalization that is of knowing you have the injury, but also wanting to cheer on your team and knowing like, I got to rehab this injury, I want to play on Sunday. Let's take a listen to Joshua.
Yeah, I'm trying to. So just get back and do as much rehab as I can tonight and tomorrow and see how we go. Just hoping this wasn't my last game at Iowa State. So just try to if I can be out there for the game Sunday. Hope so, but if not, I know my team they'll play hard and they'll try to come out with that win. It was a good feeling knowing that it wasn't nothing serious and that it's just a sprain. So I can deal with a sprain. I can get that back and going so I can try to play.
It sucks, especially when he's the best player on our team and does so much for us. It's obviously hard to see, but at the same time, it gives us a little extra motivation to step up and win the game for him and have other guys maybe play more minutes and be more aggressive.
Do the little things. J. Jeff loves doing the little things. If that's hard, hard screens, physical screens, toughness on the ball, the way we guard, rebounding. He said just do all of those things in honor of J. Jeff.
Well, you heard it from Jefferson, the man himself. It's not great, but it could have been a lot worse. Your final takeaways on this game, Jefferson's injury, and looking ahead, Kevin.
The shooting and the defense of this team, when they are on, and everybody better watch out.
Iowa State going to take on Kentucky on Sunday. Kentucky coming off that overtime victory. Iowa State, obviously a lot easier of a win, so maybe that benefits the Cyclones, but obviously the most important name to know is Joshua Jefferson, and can he get healthy in the next 48 hours? Becky and Colin?
All right.
Awesome. Thank you, Jack. Appreciate it. Thank you, Jack and Kevin. They had great coverage throughout the week in St. Louis. That's going to continue throughout the rest of the week. And now we're going to turn our attention here to a little bit of the Iowa women. So I was in Iowa City today, being able to catch up with them ahead of their playing Fairleigh Dickinson. Of course, you remember Fairleigh Dickinson on the men's side had the 16 versus the 1 over Purdue. FDU, believe it.
Yeah.
That call, I believe, was that Kevin Harlan on the call. But the women's team, FDU's got a heck of a team. They've won 22 straight games, which is
whoa.
Yeah, and they're a mid-major team.
Oh, that's formidable.
But still, won 22 straight games. That's going to play a big factor, I think, coming into tomorrow's game. I think it's a 3:00 tip. And there's one more thing. There's one thing about it's Iowa City tomorrow. It's going to be around 85 degrees.
Yes.
Carver Hawkeye Arena does not have air conditioning.
I have heard about this. I've heard the murmurings. Corey and I kind of briefly thought about it last night during Weekend Watch. We're like, oh, that's warm for Carver. Yeah, that's really warm for Carver.
Yes, because Iowa City during basketball season almost never gets this warm. So it's going to be mid-80s tomorrow in Iowa City, and they're going to be playing, I believe, in the middle of the day there. And so I did ask Jan Jensen about it, and she said she doesn't think it's going to have too much of an impact there. So we'll see. She did say, that's probably a good thing. I asked her, I was like, yeah, 86 degrees, so there's no air conditioning, any impact. She's like, probably no impact, but she's like, I'm glad you told me, though. Now you bring it up. She's like, maybe we'll have to talk about it and bring stuff up with hydration because, our players can cramp a lot easier if it's a little bit warmer on the court. Now, Carver's lucky it's kind of built into the ground, so it's going to be a little bit cooler on the floor compared to a normal building. So it's kind of like a basement type feel, but there's still going to be 17,000 people in there, and that might impact the game a little bit. I'll be interested to see what happens if players cramp up or whatnot. But actually, on the court for these two teams, it's going to be FDU winners of 22 straight. I asked Taylor Stremlow, Chit Chat Right, about what they're expecting. Is there any unique challenges that come with playing 22 or playing a team that's won 22 straight? They said, hey, FDU is a heck of a team from 3-point range, and they are a very good team, but this is March. They got to treat every opponent with the same amount of respect, and that's what they're doing for the Knights there. So it should be interesting. Maybe it's going to be an interesting game. I think Hawkeye fans don't want it to be interesting.
I mean, they have a home court advantage.
Yes.
They probably are going to start this off on a pretty confident, friendly foot with the crowd.
Yes, and that's the thing because FDU has not played in an environment like Carver, so that's going to be an interesting, see what kind of happens. I remember I had worked in Evansville, Indiana for a couple years, and they were hosting, Southern Indiana was hosting the WNIT, and UIC, the women's team, had come to Evansville to play that game, and it was very close to a sellout, and UIC's program had never played in that. I remember there were 2 or 3 shot clock violations in a row by UIC because they had gotten so loud, the players kind of lost their bearing. So that's the type of impact that you could see from Carver tomorrow because FDU, the program, the team, has just probably never seen anything like that. And Carver gets, especially this time of year, it can get very loud to the point where I put in some noise-canceling headphones every once in a while because I'm at all these games, so I'm just like, gotta protect the hearing a little bit, right?
That's fair. Bring along the earbuds. You better safe than sorry, maybe. Yeah. The Hawkeye crowd sure knows how to bring it.
Yeah, it should be a fun one tomorrow. And then Iowa State is playing Syracuse, my alma mater, tomorrow. So.
Oh no, are you torn?
Oh no.
Let's not talk about where loyalties lie. Yes. We'll leave that alone.
It is tough because the winner of that game, it has number 1 UConn up next, and UConn is UConning this year. So
UConn is indeed UConning.
Yes. So they're undefeated. They're looking like the UConn that won over 100 straight games a few years ago. So we'll see what happens with that game, but we'll have coverage. Continuing coverage tonight from the Iowa and the Northern Iowa men's games that are going on right now. So we'll have continued coverage tonight at 10 o'clock in our newscast. And then tomorrow I'll have coverage on the weekend newscast from the Iowa women. And Iowa, the men right now are up 32-25 at the half.
Okay, we will take it. Okay, thank you, Colin, so much for joining us here on the show tonight. We really appreciate it, and we appreciate you guys for tuning in. And of course, a big shout out to Jack and Kevin for all their incredible work live from St. Louis. They are just really holding it down there.
Oh yeah, and extra coverage all on our website, so go to our website, check it out.
Absolutely. Have a great evening and enjoy the tournament.